Well, it's November the 16th, 2021, and I guess we can say that the Rittenhouse trial is wrapping up now. It's going to the jury today. We had the closing arguments yesterday after a lengthy reading of the jury instructions. Um, I'm always left with these jury instructions. It's hyper-technical language, legalese language about the definition, what's basically the definition of a murder charge, which is now being called reckless homicide in the first and second degree. I mean, it's so arcane. I'm just like, at one point I was wondering, did anybody realize that Rittenhouse was on trial for murder there, and that and they're trying to confuse the jury by thinking it's something else that's lesser, and therefore you go ahead and convict him. What are they trying to do? The way the law is written. Of course, I'm not from Wisconsin, so I guess don't know what the deal is on that. I think that maybe some more recent laws were passed in, I don't know, recent decades, I guess. I can't imagine it was traditional. Anyhow, I want to say, first of all, please give me a like if to help with the algorithm and get more people seeing these things, because I don't think YouTube is really trying to spread my videos out to everybody. And if you haven't subscribed already, please do, and that way you'll be more likely to see the next video. Um, yeah, my conclusion is Rittenhouse is innocent. It definitely is self-defense. That's my viewpoint. But like I said at the beginning, I'm the intent legalese, and now they're going to actually get a written form of these instructions. Which, remember, the judge was actually having trouble with the instructions during the hour and a half that they were trying to present them and get them approved and read. And I'm like, well, I mean, if the judge is having trouble understanding this law, how's a common jury supposed to understand it? I mean, it does seem to me to be kind of, you know, and they finally argued that the lesser included charges were such that if self-defense gave him protection for the highest charge, then they didn't need to consider the lower charge. They had a big argument about that because I think they were hoping that somehow the jury would compromise at the second degree charge if they got deadlocked over the first degree charge, and well, that sort of thing. So it's in the hands of the jury, and we'll see what they do. I'm not sure anybody. I would have to admit that the prosecution summary was one of the most asinine presentations that I've ever had to listen to. But in order to be up to date on my videos, I decided I would dutifully watch the whole thing, which I did. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, first of all, I mean, he's trying to portray that the rioters really weren't that dangerous, that they really weren't violent, that they were even heroes, that they were good guys, that the rioters were kind of good guys, and that Rittenhouse guy, I mean, he's really out there, really dangerous dude. I mean, he spends his time, maybe being one to provide somebody a bandage if they get hit by a rock or something, but man, he's not a real EMT, so he's a phony. So at any rate, I mean, I think the only case where he basically put a bandage on somebody and told him to go to the hospital. So I mean, this is kind of, I mean, it's the most ridiculous, prejudicial, illogical argument ever. Hopefully, the jury sees this and just kind of tunes that dude out. You're really obnoxious. We don't want to hear you anymore. But at any rate, that's kind of what we can hope for. On the other hand, if we have dedicated MSNBC and CNN viewers there, who knows what might happen. I'm kind of hoping that, it was only about a year and a, well, what was it, a year and a half, not a year and a quarter, I guess I'd say, yeah, something like that ago when this incident happened. These jurors are probably pretty knowledgeable about the riot, the amount of damage it did, and a lot of the machinations beforehand. Many of them probably actually know that Rosenbaum was a child molester. That the other two individuals had criminal convictions. I don't know if they really realized that this Gage, whatever the guy, the last guy with a pistol, Gertingen or something like that. Anyway, that dude, apparently he was an Antifa type character. So yeah, as well as an EMT. And he was running around with a gun with an expired license, and I think he had a felony conviction, so I'm not sure it was even legal for him to have a gun. But the point is, You know, that I just thought the whole effort to go after Rittenhouse was just really ridiculous. I mean, I think you do have the argument that okay, he really shouldn't have been there. That's true, but that's like saying if somebody goes down a dark alley and ends up being mugged and successfully defends himself against the mugger, they can't declare self-defense because they really shouldn't have been in that alley anyhow. Would a reasonable person have gone into that alley? So therefore, I mean, it's that kind of logic this guy comes up. And then he has some fuzzy picture that he claims is Rittenhouse pointing a gun at somebody, even though it would have been, since he's right-handed, he would have had been doing it from a left-handed stance if it was true, which doesn't make any sense. But, I think the defense did a pretty good job in their summary. I mean, at least what they said made sense, and I think they clearly show, both sides are showing the video. The trick the prosecution does is they slow it down and they take something that happens in less than 3/4 of a second and go, well, he fired the first shot. Didn't that stop the guy? He shouldn't have shot any more, even though the police officer that led to the whole riot in the first place shot the guy 7 times. And sure, and I don't think it was nearly as much danger as Rittenhouse was. So, ultimately, we'll just have to see how this thing turns out. It's also clear to me that they very well know that one of their star witness was actually lying because they didn't find the ejected shell casing that was on the ground, and from the video they can tell there were 8 shots fired, so there was no misfire. So it wasn't an empty case, so they should be looking for a round with a bullet in it, and they never found that. Nor did they find 9; they found 8. So I mean, it seems to me like if they'd done their due diligence, they would know that they were putting up perjured testimony. So at any rate, we'll have to see how the thing unwinds, but. I guess an early verdict will probably be not guilty, and if it goes on a long time, then you know that you're in for something happening, either a hung jury or even a conviction on one of the charges. And the other thing that was completely asinine in there, they had this weapons charge in the trial the whole time, even though it was obvious that it was completely invalid, because it is true, just like I said in my video over a year ago, that the law there apparently does allow people at the age of 16 and 17 to have a long gun. And I presume that was actually passed for the purpose of hunting and maybe, just target shooting. But the point is that it doesn't say it's if you have a hunting license and are hunting. That's not what it said. It said just the age, and that the restrictions were on weapons that were considered to be what you might call in the class 3 category. I mean, historically, sawed-off shotguns and sawed-off rifles were considered the tools of criminals. However, as what you might call the tactical cool thing, the SBR, type gun has become a type of class 3 gun that's preferred by certain gun people because I guess that's what the SEALs and the and the Delta Force use, so because they're for their close combat guns and stuff like that. But the point I'm getting at is, that was the mindset the law was passed against, essentially. And of course, I don't think an 18-year-old or a 17-year-old is going to get a class 3 license. I don't think. Maybe I don't know about that. I don't know if there's an age cutoff on that or not. It doesn't matter. The point is that was not the law there. The prosecution knew it, and they still kept this charge going on throughout most of the trial. It got kicked out on final instructions. And I don't know how much that prejudices anything, but again, that's all part of the setup. I guess the judge did as good as he could. I would like to have seen him be a little bit more critical of the prosecution and throw up more, oppose more of their antics than he did. But because they really were being ridiculous. The whole case should never have been brought, in my opinion. But it was, and we'll have to see in the day, tomorrow, the next day, or however many days it takes, what it's going to be. I know a lot of observers think it's going to be a quick verdict. And I don't know. They spend a lot of time reading through the 30-some pages of jury instructions with a lot of technical legalese. I don't know what they're going to conclude, On the other hand, they may just throw that stuff out and say, hey, but don't we all think it's self-defense and vote not guilty on everything? He said if it's find self-defense, we can just do this real quick. So it's unclear how the jury will handle something like that. I mean, there's really no other than these instructions, there's really no coaching on how to be a juror. You just go in there and wing it the best you can, right? So and it all depends on like what dominant individuals, show up in the jury, and then I guess, and does the dominant individual tick off some other people so much that they vote against them, or are they more upset with what they think about the prosecution or defense attorneys, or do they come into the whole trial with a pre-existing condition, opinion they won't quit? Yeah, that's the sort of thing you end up with. So anyhow, I'll wrap this up for now. I guess I do want to mention that I guess we finally got the signing of the infrastructure bill, so that's out of the way now, and hopefully we can block the big social spending bill, which is the one we really want to block anyhow, because that's the one that would set up programs that would cost way more than they're estimated to and would go on forever. Where this other thing is a more finite proposal to do a variety of things over a 10-year period, and without the Trump style modifications to environmental laws, a lot of it probably won't get done that fast anyhow. So at any rate, we got that done, and we'll have to go on other topics. You can follow me on social media. I'm usually pretty active on Twitter. I do, and my addresses are there below. And then I do sometimes post on Gab and Parler, although most of the posts there are just links to these videos to try to get more people to know they exist. So, okay, I'll close for now.